Welcome to our talk today on exploring the enacted computing curriculum in K-12 schools in South Asia with a focus on Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. I'm Monica McGill, and today I present our research along with Tehreem Anwar, Arturo Jimenez, Arsalan bin Najeeb, and Bishakha Upadhyaya. There has been considerable effort around the world to bring computing into K-12. However, computing education research conducted across much of the ACM and IEEE publication venues is almost exclusively focused on countries with high-income economies. Is the CS for All movement global? The locations of student participants in CS education research in the csedresearch.org repository indicates that it is not. Turning our attention to South Asia, we searched both the ACM and IEEE digital libraries. We learned again that there were few results published. An examination of the top 100 articles returned from the search results using a set of keywords with each country individually resulted in only 17 papers found. For two computing education publication venues with international in their title, including ICER, no results were found. Computer science education is important for the economic growth of low and lower middle income countries across the globe. Economic growth is directly tied to the reduction of poverty, and uniform distribution of technology education can have even more positive impacts on those in rural areas. Given the lack of publications on computing ed research among South Asian countries, the overarching research question for the study became, how can we begin to understand the similarities and differences in the K-12 CS education enacted curriculum across South Asia? Here is a map showing South Asia along with current United Nations educational rank and indexes and the World Bank income status. For comparison, we provide educational ranks and indexes as well as income status for Australia, Ireland, the UK, and the US, all of which have researchers who publish regularly at ICER. In choosing which countries to investigate for this study, we considered where we as researchers were from, as well as selecting a blend of countries from South Asia. Arsalan and Tehreem are from Pakistan, and Bishakha is from Nepal. We had further connections in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Now we will provide a brief overview of the status of computing education in each of these countries. In Bangladesh, efforts have been made to integrate ICT into education. Since 2009, the government has been committed to making digitization a national priority. Key milestones have been to introduce multimedia content to 8.5 million students and introduce digital talking textbooks for visually impaired students. Bangladesh has continued to see a rise in students who pursue ICT education, yet teachers' lack of knowledge and skills hinders their use. One of the most significant social factors influencing the use of ICT is the low social status of women. Providing education, including ICT, to women is not considered important. Men largely occupy academic, management, and technical roles, which allows them access to technology and learning.
In Pakistan, education is federally administered, and in 2018, the Ministry of Education published policies that state that the Ministry of IT will also support the Ministry of Education in enhancing professional development for IT and also work on logical and analytical skills for primary and secondary school students. Other initiatives include STEM 5, a university professor and student-led outreach effort aimed to increase STEM awareness and increase the ICT literacy rate for students before they enter university. Issues that plague further development for computing education include limited funds and low salaries coupled with insufficient number of teachers and ghost teachers. A general lack of IT infrastructure and resources for teacher training also further affects computing education.
In Sri Lanka, the basic requirements for most schools are 4 computers, at least 1 teacher with ICT experience, and a secure room for ICT learning. Many principles that are set in Sri Lanka's primary education allow students to gain the necessary ICT foundations in order to prepare these students for higher education. This is done in order for students to learn how to use ICT skills to improve quality of life and solve real-world problems. While Sri Lanka has attempted to improve ICT education with programs such as One Laptop Per Child, Sri Lanka has faced problems involving funding and ICT literacy.
In Nepal, the Master Plan 2013 to 2017 defined the 4 major pillars of ICT education as infrastructure, internet connectivity, learning materials, and human resource. To meet the infrastructural needs, One Laptop Per Child policy was introduced in 2008, under which 4,400 laptops were distributed across 26 different schools. Despite these efforts and enthusiasm among teachers and students, the system had some major problems such as lack of infrastructure and funding, lack of qualified teachers, and the training required for them. Research shows that due to the lack of criteria determining the roles of NGOs in ICT education in Nepal, there is a lot of dependency on NGOs to provide the training and funding for schools. To answer the research questions, we chose a quantitative approach through a cross-sectional survey design. We used the METRECC survey, which was designed to capture the enacted curriculum, but it had only been tested and used in the countries with high income and high educational index ranking. We examined the original survey instrument for face validity in order to make it relevant with the South Asian education system and culture. For data collection, we transcribed the new survey into Qualtrics and distributed online. Face validity was an important aspect of this process in making METRECC survey more relevant to South Asia. We looked at terminologies used in the original survey, such as gifted, which is a term commonly used to identify students with disabilities in South Asia, whereas original survey referred to it to describe students in the top percentile. We also looked at other definitions that might be interpreted differently, such as computational thinking and professional development, and explicitly defined them within the survey. The original survey consisted of 47 questions in total, and after the comments from the external reviewers, we brought it down to a total of 40 questions based on what was most relevant. To prevent bot infiltration, we added bot detection questions and also screened for potential bot responses based on response time. After all these changes, the resulting survey consisted of 36 questions and averaged 13.8 minutes to complete it. For face validity, we analyzed each question in the original instrument for cultural differences to align with the curriculum and the culture in these countries. In addition to that, we had external reviewers with experience in ICT curriculum from Nepal and Pakistan who went through the survey, and based on their reviews, we made further modification regarding the language and the length of the survey. Because 3 of the authors were from 2 of the countries, Nepal and Pakistan, we had relatively more contacts and participants from these countries. It was important to keep in mind that some of the areas may not have access to the internet, so we chose to only look at metropolitan areas. Due to the differences in culture, habit, and acceptance regarding foreign research studies, the willingness to participate was a potential risk. But keeping these risks in mind, we tried to reach the teachers in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka through online contact using Facebook and LinkedIn groups, and used connections from the external reviewers and the authors for Nepal and Pakistan. Once the survey was live, we kept it open for 4 weeks. During this time, we received a total of 43 responses, of which 2 were underage, 2 did not consent to the study, and 2 of the responses were incomplete. After examining to detect bot responses, there were 27 complete responses, out of which 24 of them were from Nepal and 3 were from Pakistan.
For the survey conducted, the majority of participants were from Nepal and the rest were from Pakistan. Most participants were from the inner city metropolitan areas, with less than 20% being from outer city metropolitan areas. Just about 50% of participants were teachers from private schools. Out of 27 responses, 4% of teachers reported to having just a high school diploma, 33% of teachers reported having a bachelor's degree, 7% reported to having a PhD, and 52% reported to having a master's degree. When asked how qualified they felt about teaching computer science, 41% of teachers strongly agreed, 48% agreed, and the remaining 11% were neutral. 63% of respondents shared that a majority of their classes were boys. We identified gifted students as students with some form of disability and exceptional students as students who have scored above the national average. 44% of teachers shared that more than 10% of their students were gifted. 41% of teachers shared that more than 10% of their students were exceptional. Findings from the survey investigation show that nearly all but one participant have some form of support. The 2 most common support include computer labs for 93% of teachers and school ICT support staff for 67% of teachers. The most commonly used resources used by teachers in the classroom were computers. Other popular resources include CS textbooks and digital question banks. Participants were asked their modes of presentation. We note that the most popular programming environment for these participants was general-purpose, text-based programming without computers, a common practice in countries without computers for every student or well-resourced labs.
Technology infrastructure and computer science-specific technology and support for classroom research were the most desired professional training by our participants, with only one teacher that did not desire any additional support in teaching their computer science curriculum. We only had few responses from Nepal and Pakistan and none from Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Due to the small sample size, we are not deducing any generalizations. Our unsure and other options for multiple choice questions had both single and multiple answers, indicating that questions were relevant for Nepal and Pakistan. On the other hand, our confidence in usability is very low for Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, since we had no respondents from there and no internal or external face validity either. So our questions might not meet the standard and cultural needs for these 2 countries. International publications are generally highly skewed towards publications and research from high-income countries, and not just for the case of CS education. Roots of this general inequality go back as far as colonial times and how the country developed and the population's trust in science. As technology provides economic power in today's global marketplace, the CS for All movement may disproportionately leave out countries and millions of people, further increasing the economic power divide. Our call to action includes asking the question if, as CS education researchers, we are unknowingly contributing to the economic divide between high and low income countries. Another question worth considering is, how can we explore ways to help bridge this divide rather than contribute to it? Thank you very much for coming to our talk. You can email us if you have any questions.